been more than 2 decades since the Columbia Space Shuttle broke apart over East Texas, shaping history. Tomorrow marks the 23rd anniversary of the tragedy. Now the Columbia Museum in Hemphill hopes the keeps the mission's memory alive. Our Olivia Hartpence was there today and spoke with a group of Civil Air Patrolmen.
It's good to be able to pass on the knowledge of the people who came before us, be able to tell of their triumphs and their failures, to be able to learn from the past so that we may excel in the future.
Austin Hadaway and a Civil Air Patrol squadron visited the NASA Remembering Columbia Museum today, ahead of February 1st. This year marks 23 years since the Columbia Space Shuttle tragedy that took the lives of 7 astronauts. What followed was a months-long search and recovery mission. 2 volunteers died during the recovery efforts. The founder of the Cap Leesville Composite Squadron, Ronald Carricker, says the museum offers important reminders.
We do everything we can to teach them to honor, respect, remember their veterans, but to give them STEM, science, technology, engineering, math.
Throughout the day, Hadaway and his squadron learned the history of the STS-107 flight, asked questions, and honored those that paved the way in aerospace science. Hadaway's goal is to serve.
In my life, I've always wanted to participate in the armed forces as possibly a fighter pilot, getting my start over here in the Civil Air Patrol.
He says his experience today was educational and reminded him of all who came before him. And Carricker says they won't let Columbia's mission fade away. They'll keep going to the museum and keep teaching future patrolmen.
Prepare them for life. We're going to prepare them for military. We're going to prepare them as pilots. That's a big order. And I'm all for it. To bring that to the community, that's what we do.
Olivia Hartpence, East Texas News Weekend.
And tomorrow, the museum is hosting a memorial event. That ceremony will start at 7:45 in the morning.